I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we dive into the miraculous with one of my favorite guests. His name is Curtis McCalister, and he's written a wonderful and inspiring book. It is called The Miracle of Me and My Life of Miracles. This captivating book unveils his extraordinary experiences from witnessing a majestic temple in the sky to encountering departed loved ones, reinforcing the belief that life continues beyond death. Join us right now as Curtis shares his divine encounters and his profound messages of hope and reassurance that inspire us all. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Curtis, great to have you back on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to be with you.
Love your book. I think it's so inspiring. It reminds us that miracles happen every day. You just have to be open to them.
Yep.
Tell us about some of the miracles that you've witnessed in your life that have had the greatest impact on you.
Oh, well, several. I mean, the first one, of course, was the majestic temple in the sky that I saw. It was a Greek-style temple. It had a hipped roof. It had 10 columns on its long side, 2 on front of the massive front doors in the front. And it was flat on the bottom, had 2 steps in front, and was just floating along like it belonged there.
Amazing. And where were you when you saw this castle, this temple rather, in the sky?
I was in the back seat of my dad's car, and we were coming back from Liberty back home, and we were rounding Glen Eyre Curve on I-35. And at that time, something made me look out into the western sky out my window, and that's when I saw it. It was just floating along. It was made out of clouds. It was just floating along like it belonged there.
Amazing. Now, did you tell your dad, hey, Dad, look what I see in the sky? Or did you keep it to yourself? Tell us about what
I
happened.
tried to get him to stop, but apparently I was prohibited from doing much else. I couldn't really say much at the time, and
Right.
So we just kept on going, and nothing really happened. I should have got my
Exactly.
mom to look out the window, but it never,
Tough.
I never did.
When you're a kid, particularly growing up, you and I grew up in the same era, kids were to be seen and not heard. So you could say, Dad, look at this. And be like, leave me alone. Don't bother me. I'm driving.
Yeah.
That's just how it worked back then. What was it like growing up in the 1960s? And how did those experiences shape your spiritual journey?
Oh, well, growing up in the 1960s was awesome. I tell you, it was very, very awesome. You know, got to see the Beatles on TV. I got to see, the advent of rock and roll.
Yep.
Got to see, um, well, the moon landing. That
Yeah.
was a big thing. That was really big. That was really big.
Yeah.
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 It was just a fun time to grow up, and I had the pleasure of going with my parents in '68 to Hawaii,
Wow.
and yeah, we stayed there for 2 weeks. It was an awesome vacation.
That is an awesome vacation, particularly in 1968. That was a huge journey. I don't think I got on a plane until about 1981 or 82 or so. So you were a decade or two ahead of me there with your air travels, and what a memorable trip, I'm sure. Part of
It was.
your spiritualistic journey involves working at W Grainger. You had a
Mhm.
vision there, and it's impacted your belief in the afterlife. Tell us about that.
Well, I had just picked up an order from the order desk, and I hopped on my forklift and was heading toward uh, the main cross aisle between sections 2 and 3. And when I got at the end there, that's when I saw it. It was up in the air. It was like a see-through pallet, one of their small 36 by 42 pallets, and it was like hanging in the air. It was like smoke, you could see through the other side. And I was wondering, and it had this miraculous lightning bolt surrounding it that was pulsing in and out, in and out, in and out. It was really something to behold. And I put my hand up in front of my eyes to see if I could, if it was still there, if it was being sent to my head. Well, it blocked it. And when I took my hand down, the vision was still there, and it was still pulsating. And it was at about the level 5 in the rack system in section 3. And it was about 12 feet away from me. And I just, at that time, I looked around, to see if anybody else had seen this thing. There was not a soul in sight. And usually a warehouse is pretty darn busy, And even in receiving, which was just right next to me, there was nobody there either. Everybody was in their trailers. And so God had sent signals to everyone's scanner guns to get them out of the way so that nobody could see this except for me. I even looked down. I got down on my hands and knees and I looked to see if there was anybody in section 6. No, nobody. And, it was really something. I just got down on my hands and knees and started thanking and praising God for letting me see this miraculous thing, But then I had a feeling that this image wanted me to follow it. So I did. I got back on my lift and I went right after it. It continued down the aisle that I needed to go down. It stayed ahead of me at the same height and distance. It was still pulsing and everything. And after I came to the second cross aisle, I had to turn around the corner to the next aisle over to get my order. And that's when the image disappeared, and there, hanging by its 1/4-inch wooden lip on the level 5 crossbeam, steel crossbeam, was an actual 36 by 42 pallet just hanging there. And by golly, that thing could have fallen and hit somebody in the head and killed them.
Right. Yeah.
That's why when I grabbed my radio and I got on to them immediately on my order desk, and I said, "Hey guys, come out here in a manned box and get this darn thing off of there before it hits somebody in the head."
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
And there really was a message from God to have you have that vision, to see this pallet that posed such great danger to your coworkers, for you to follow it, for you to alert attention to it, and to stop what could have been complete tragedy, right?
Yeah, it had to be. It had to be a message from God. I don't know who else could have done it, I mean, because people, were not there to look at it, to see the thing. So they were gotten rid of, their scanner guns, messages were sent to them to go get another order out of the way of where I was.
Amazing.
So it is really crazy. It's weird, but yeah, it's very very monumental. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think your book brings a lot of comfort to people because it acknowledges the supernatural, spirituality, the existence of God, and of course the afterlife.
Yes.
What message are you hoping to convey to those grieving the loss of loved ones through your book?
Well, I'm hoping to instill in them a great deal of hope and peace. That's the biggest thing. I want them to know that there is an afterlife. We have a second life.
Mm.
I saw my mom and dad as young kids after
Amazing.
they had passed years before.
Amazing.
Mom, I saw first in 2014 over winter break. I went up to the Barnes and Noble bookstore. I was going to grab a book, something I was looking for, my Japanese anime and manga. And that's when I went there and I started taking the escalator up, and I heard this girl's voice. It was very obnoxious. She was very loud,
Mm.
very loud, you know. And I was wondering, well, what's this about? You know, who's yelling? You know, and I went up and I went into the aisle that I was wanting to look at, and when I did, this girl came around the corner, and she was like, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that. She had dark hair that I could see, but she had on a hat, winter coat, a scarf, and earmuffs. It's no wonder that she couldn't hear very well.
Yeah.
You know, and she was all done up and everything. And I think it was basically she wanted to kind of halfway hide herself so so I wouldn't recognize her, that kind of thing. But I think she was young enough that I wouldn't have recognized her anyway. But anyway, after I looked around for some chairs to sit in, there wasn't any. So I decided, oh, what the heck, I'll just grab my book and I'll just go down and sit there in the aisle where I got it. And that's when this girl chose a book, and she came right over and sit right down next to me. Right down next to me. Now, I thought, well, this is very odd. I mean, why would a 15 or 16-year-old girl be sitting down to right next to a 56-year-old guy who she didn't know, right?
Right.
I mean, no girl would do that.
Right.
So it had to be my mom.
Amazing. Amazing. This image that you saw, this vision of your mother in a state
Well, it
of
wasn't a
youth.
vision. She was flesh and blood.
Flesh and blood.
Flesh and
Flesh
blood.
and blood.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
She was. Yes. She was not a spirit or anything. She was solid. She was solid.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It must have brought you a lot of comfort knowing that your mother was visiting with you and letting you know basically that I'm okay, that I'm enjoying life. She was at probably one of the happiest points in her life also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't occur to me until quite a while after, a number of years before I put two and two together and figured out that had to be mom.
Amazing.
Now, 2 years later, I saw Dad at our church as a 19-year-old man.
Wow.
Now, I was washing my hands in the bathroom, and he came in and he saw, so that's what you look like now. I almost didn't recognize you without hair. And I turned and looked at this person, and a young guy. He was wearing, a dark blue pants, a light blue shirt, and but he had white hair. I mean, very white hair. And my dad told me that before he turned 21, he had white hair. So it took me only a matter of a couple of minutes, just from the time that I left the bathroom to the time I got back in the sanctuary and sat down. That's when I figured out, oh my God, that's Dad. He was wearing the clothes he was buried in. I thought they looked familiar.
Amazing. Amazing. That is just one of the many miracles that have comprised the life of Curtis McCalister. And he has documented them in a wonderful book, an inspiring book, a book that is filled with hope. It is called The Miracle of Me, and My Life of Miracles. It's a captivating book. It unveils the author's extraordinary experiences, some of which you heard today, such as witnessing a majestic temple in the sky to encountering departed loved ones. Curtis, thanks so much for joining us once again here on Spotlight.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time. This time until next time on Spotlight.